Am I the asshole for not wanting to pay for a huge dinner? Some backstory. I am pretty successful, especially in comparison to my family. I also travel quite a bit for work. When I come into town, I try to meet everyone and usually go out to a few dinners. Because of the income disparity, I almost always pay for my family. Sometimes I splurge and take them out to a really nice place, but usually it is just Outback or something similar. I do let them pay every once in a while when it is a quick, cheap meal, so they do not feel bad. I have no issue with this and love helping my family. For example, I handle family vacations, bought my mom a car, and more, so I feel like I am very generous with them. I was coming back into town for the holidays, but could not stay long this time. My mom said everyone wanted to see me and planned a dinner. After I got into town, I had a text from my mom from a few hours earlier, no signal on the plane, to meet at a really high-end steakhouse. I was a bit uneasy about it because I always initiate more expensive meals, but I went along with it. I showed up at the restaurant to find a huge party. My mom, stepdad, grandparents, cousins, neighbors, and more. Usually, our family dinners are about 6 people. I do not have much family and very few I'm close to. This was almost 20 people. I didn't think much of it and ordered dinner. Then the neighbor of my grandmother, whom I have only ever waved to, offered a toast to me for being so generous and taking everyone out to dinner. I looked at my mom, who was beet red. Appetizers came out at this exact moment. I had assumed some version of a shared meal since so many people were there. I immediately said, "I am not paying for dinner." I quickly looked around. Everyone had drinks. They ordered a ton of appetizers, and everyone had steaks. This place's steaks all cost between $80 and $250 per person. Quick Mouth told me this was going to be a $4,000 dinner, easily. I got up, threw $100 on the table, and left. My phone was blowing up. I turned it off, went to bed, and left the next day without saying goodbye. I did not handle it well, but actually felt used. Also, I told my mother I would stop sending her a monthly allowance going forward. I know I am not the asshole with the dinner, but I am more concerned about my reaction. Update. My mom has been begging me to call her back. I figured I would let it go and called her back. I apologized for storming out and assumed she would apologize too, so we could move forward. Nope. I was called selfish, greedy, disrespectful, and mean. I asked how they could call me greedy and selfish after everything I have done for everyone. She said I did not do that much and could do more. To be clear, I have bought her 2 cars now, helped remodel a bathroom, replaced their roof, bought new appliances, and paid for 5 or 6 family vacations. This is on top of a legion of other things. I got so mad, I went scorched earth and told her nobody would be receiving any more help if they were not appreciative going forward. I called AT&T and canceled the 6 lines I was paying for everyone. I canceled the internet I was paying for, changed passwords on or canceled all my streaming accounts, kicked their cars off AAA, kicked her off my car insurance, and canceled the credit card I had given her. No more free rides. Update 2. Since everyone has been asking, here are the updates. Nothing major. After I left, my niece, who was not there, so this is third-hand information, said everyone was in shock. They tried to cancel dinner, but the appetizers and drinks had already come, so they split a $700 bill and left. My mom has been calling, and I am avoiding her calls now. Her voicemails are each meaner than the last, so I just delete them now. I told her I wanted time for us all to calm down, and I will talk to her next month. I was uninvited from a cousin's wedding I barely know. They did not want drama, but let it be known that they would like the present. That conversation could spark a whole other "am I the asshole" thread. They were deciding where the family vacation would be this summer, previously. That plan is dead now. I visited with my niece, and she told me there is zero remorse or understanding. It's basically an accepted consensus that I am a greedy, mean monster. So, nothing juicy. I will update if anything major happens, but I think this is the status quo for quite a while. Reddit verdict. Not the asshole. Top comments. Comment. Your family invited your neighbors? Do you even know these people? Wait, it doesn't even matter. And everybody had drinks, appetizers, and steak? Oh, hell no. Paying for your part and leaving was entirely appropriate. They took advantage of the golden goose, and the golden goose left and cut mama off. Not the asshole. Answer. This, My dear husband had lost his job right around my daughter's 6th birthday. All she wanted to do for celebrating her birthday was go out to dinner with Grandma and Papa to a steakhouse. Okay, we budgeted and said we could afford this. Cut to the birthday dinner. My in-laws out loud, knowing my dear husband had just lost his job and we had no income, said, "Okay, time to run up the bill." And they proceeded to do just that. They ordered several glasses of wine, the most expensive meals on the menu, and insisted on dessert. My dear husband and I both just ordered side salads to try and offset this, but it did not come anywhere close, and they really put us in a bind. Guess who's never been invited out to dinner since? Honestly, I can forgive a lot, but that one, no, I just cannot let that one go. Comment. Clear, not the asshole. You did not offer, you did not get consulted, and your mother seemed to assume you would pay for the world and their dog. And I think I would have handled it the same way. Put down more than enough to make up for what I've ordered so far and leave. Not your drama to sort through, so have a nice quiet evening elsewhere. Comment. Not the asshole. This is the problem with being nice. People feel entitled and start using you. In my family, the same thing happened, and it is so hard to enforce boundaries. Every time you do, you're in the wrong or get guilt-tripped. My family stopped buying groceries when I came over because they knew if there was no food, I would buy it. My dad would say, "Let's go out for lunch," and then brag to the waiter about his daughter taking him out to lunch. It just got worse and worse. One day I took my niece and nephew to the carnival. I set boundaries on what could be spent. We were having fun and all was cool. My sister and brother-in-law even paid for stuff out of their own pocket too. Nice, isn't it? Next thing I know, everyone is hopping mad at me for making them spend money they don't have. They made me feel so guilty for a long time until I realized that I set boundaries, but they chose to spend the money because they couldn't say no to their kids. Or they told me I flaunt my money when I decide to do something nice for everyone. No more. Now, I take some groceries with me whenever I visit and buy nothing more. If my dad invites me to lunch, I make sure we know who's on the hook for paying before we enter the restaurant. My niece and nephew are old enough to take out on their own, and they get boundaries too. You can have either this or that, but not both. No, that's not in the budget now. You can spend X. And when I do something for charity, I do it anonymously, because during COVID, I was fortunate enough not to lose my income and not to have that many expenses, so I helped people out who lost jobs and such. Boy, did that bite me in the ass for a long time afterwards. Write what you think about this situation. Who did the right thing, and who is the asshole? Let's discuss it in the comments. In the meantime, let's move on to the next story. Am I the asshole for selling my late wife's cake recipe to a bakery? My late wife passed away 3 years ago. Our 2 children were in their late 20s at the time. It has been a difficult few years, and it is even harder now that I live alone. She had a lovely dark chocolate cherry cake. It was my favorite thing that she would make, and I always requested it for Father's Day. I am a terrible baker, and have tried to recreate it from her notes. The notes are not very clear, and it never turns out correctly. It is depressing spending so much time and having it be wrong. I have asked my 2 children to try and make it, but they have refused. They told me they will not figure out the recipe and to stop asking. I went to a local bakery and asked them to figure it out. They agreed as long as I gave them permission to sell the cake in their store. It did not take them long to figure it out, and it is almost exactly the same as my wife's cake. I bought one for Father's Day, and my children were happy about the cake until I told them the bakery made it. They are angry that I would sell their mother's recipe to a bakery. This whole week they have been telling me how I am a jerk for this, and I am wondering if I really am a jerk. I just wanted to eat her cake again. Reddit verdict. Not be asshole. Related comments. Comment 1. I would think of this as a way for your wife to live on through what she created to bring happiness to others. It is not like you did it for the money. Would the bakery consider using your wife's name as part of the item name? Not the asshole. Author response. I highly doubt it, and I will not ask them. They have already done so much and gave me the recipe with clear instructions. I'm not going to bother them about their cake name. I'm just happy I can eat it again. Comment 2. Not the asshole. It is funny, my mother died without leaving a complete recipe for one of my favorite dishes. The basic recipe was there, but she must have had a pinch of this, dash of that in her head, because the recipe never tastes like what my mother made. I totally understand wanting to have that taste again. When your children did not want to try, you took matters into your own hands. There is nothing wrong with that. And frankly, if your children were never going to make the cake, I'm not sure what their issue is about the bakery making it. Author response. That is close to how the recipe was. Some things would have measurements and others would not be specific. It also was basically just ingredients and not many instructions. Comment 3. Not the asshole. Grief is complicated, and it sounds like they are taking out some of their sadness and anger on you. The thing about grief is it is very unpredictable. It might be best to apologize for accidentally causing those feelings, just to provide them with a little bit of validation, even though you have nothing to feel bad about. None of this process has to be logical, because grief is not logical either. I do think the bakery should be giving you that cake for free once a year on your anniversary instead of making you buy it. It does not even sound like you sold the recipe, you just gave them the right to sell the recipe. This means now a lot of people will be able to taste her cake. That is pretty sweet, no pun intended. Also, I love the idea below of asking them to name the cake after your wife. Comment 4. Not the asshole. The cake was obviously a very treasured memory of special times that you spent with your wife, particularly the Father's Day celebrations. You made every attempt to reproduce the cake on your own, but were not successful. It was natural for you to ask your children to help you. I find it sad that your children were not willing to help you with something that was clearly important to you, but then that they cut you off and told you to stop asking. I think that your idea of taking it to the bakery was brilliant. Your children were unwilling to help you, so they have only themselves to blame for the path that you were left to reproduce your precious cake. I suggest that you enjoy every delicious bite without 1 ounce of guilt. Happy eating. Comment 5. Not the asshole. Your wife left notes, not a recipe. You couldn't figure out the recipe. Your children said they could not or would not either. They had their chance and passed. You inherited your wife's notes. You have a legal and moral right to do with them as you please. You did not sell the notes. You, in a brilliant move, asked experts for help turning notes into a clear recipe. In return, you allowed them to use the recipe in their bake shop, which was also a win, as you can now buy the cake instead of baking it. You shared the results of your ingenuity with your children. Your children would rather no one ever tasted your wife's cake again? They are definitely the assholes. The comment you've been waiting for. Please share the cake recipe with us. I would love to read it. Author response. 1 cup of almost boiling water. 3/4 of a cup of Dutch cocoa powder. 1 3/4 of a cup of white sugar. 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. 1/2 a cup of sugar. 3 whole large eggs. 2/3 of a cup of sour cream, the fatty one. 2/3 of a cup of melted butter or oil. 1/2 a cup of cherry juice, not one with added sugar. 1/4 of a cup of milk. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. 2 3/4 of a cup of baking flour. 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. 2 cups of maraschino cherries. Water and cocoa are mixed together in a bowl. In another bowl, the sugar, the oil, and the eggs are mixed together. It then gets strained so it is smooth. Add the sour cream, cherry juice, milk, and vanilla to the same bowl. Add the water when it is cool to the bowl. Add in the flour, baking soda, and salt. Cut cherries in half and put them in the batter. The batter goes into a cake pan and cooks at 350 degrees until a toothpick comes out clean.
What do you think about this situation? Who do you think is a jerk, and who did the right thing? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the Sneaky Pigeon channel to get more cool and interesting stories. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.